Hey y'all, welcome back to the Dancing Italian Urban Farm. Today I have a little bit of a different video for you. With the new year just around the corner, I'm diving into my bullet journal and Budget by Paycheck workbook to get ready for 2025. Let's set ourselves up for success and make this our most organized and intentional year yet. First, I start with reflection. In my bullet journal, I'll review the highlights of 2024. What worked? What didn't? And lessons I've learned. This helps me refine my goals and set my intentions for the new year. First, I start with a reflection page. I simply title it 2024 Reflections. And this is just a bulleted list of questions I ask myself or prompts that I use to reflect on the past year. Some of the prompts that I like to use include: what was my biggest achievement? What challenges did I overcome? How did I grow? What do I want to carry forward into 2025? And then I like to include at the very bottom just a few lines of final thoughts on 2024. And this helps me to see what worked in the past year, what didn't, and what I need to change. What do I want to carry forward into 2025, and what do I want to leave behind in 2024? It's a great way to see what systems are working for you and what systems are not working for you, and allow you to refine and change things for the new year. Next, I will review my finances from the past year. Now, in full transparency, I've only been using this workbook for 2 months, November and December, but I have been using the Budget by Paycheck method for quite a while. So I will use all of that information and I'll look at spending trends, savings goals, and areas where I can improve. And I'll use this information to help me transfer into the new year what's working for me, what's not working for me, and the goals that I want to achieve over the next 12 months. Now, this step is crucial for setting realistic financial goals for the new year. I'll also create a monthly budget template for January to hit the ground running. I've already done my January budget. I'm not going to share that information on the internet because I don't feel comfortable doing that, but I will share my big overarching year-long goal for 2025 is to save an additional $2,400 for my emergency fund. Now, this is a fund that is there in case something happens. Like this past year, my husband had to have emergency knee surgery that we were not counting on, but luckily because we had an emergency fund, we were able to get by for this few months that he was out and he wasn't able to work. Now, he did have some paid time off, but he didn't have enough to cover the full time that he was out of work. So that emergency fund was there to help us. One of the things I want to do in 2025 is finish replenishing what we used and bulk it up. If I can save more than $2,400, I would love to do that, but that is my goal. That is $200 a month. I think that is completely doable with our current budget and our current finances. This is also a time to reflect on what was working in your budget. You have to treat your budget like a living, breathing entity that changes and grows as you change and grow. If you don't, you will not use your budget. It will stagnate and you will be like, this isn't working for me, and you'll abandon it. You have to look at your money every day in order to make sure that it's still working for you. This is an important step in the budgeting process. And I feel like it's a step a lot of people miss because they want to set it and forget it. And you can't do that with a budget. Now it's time to create my 2025 spreads in my bullet journal. I start with a yearly overview to mark important dates like birthdays, holidays, and paydays. Then I add sections to track my measurements in order to track how my health journey is going. I have hypothyroidism, and I like to make sure that I'm staying on track. I also have a cycle tracker to track how my cycle is being affected by perimenopause, and a section for quarterly goals. These pages keep me motivated and focused throughout the year. One of my favorite things about using both tools is how seamlessly they work together. I take financial goals from my Budget by Paycheck workbook and break them down into actionable steps in my bullet journal. Now, I like to set quarterly goals in my bullet journal because I think that this is much more manageable for me personally in my life and with the schedule that I have and the season of life that I'm in right now. If setting year-long goals works for you or just monthly goals works better for you, you have to figure out a system that works for you. Now, me being a dance teacher, I have decided to call my quarter one goals Act 1, January through March. And each goal that I have set for this quarter is a scene in my Act 1. So scene 1 is to save $600 for my emergency fund. This coincides with my year-long budgeting goal of saving $2,400. I will save $200 each month, January through March, and I will update my ER fund tracker in my BPP workbook, Budget by Paycheck workbook. This will help me stay on track. My second goal, or scene 2, is to lose 15 pounds. As I have come into perimenopause, I do have some of that visceral fat that accumulates during this time in a woman's life. And one of my goals is to lose some weight this year. So I would like to lose 15 pounds in the first quarter. That's 5 pounds a month. That is doable. That's about a pound to a pound and a half a week, which is within that 1 to 2 pounds they recommend that you lose per week. I'm going to do this by increasing my movement to 20 minutes per day outside of what I normally do in my job as a dance teacher. So this is added movement. I'm going to decrease added sugar intake per day by replacing sugar with stevia or another sugar substitute if I find one I like better. I would also like to increase my fiber and water intake. So when you increase your fiber intake, you want to increase your water intake, otherwise you will be miserable. I think this is why a lot of people abandon increasing their fiber intake because it upsets their gut. It's because they're not drinking enough water. I'm going to track these changes through measurements, tracking my weight, and non-scale victories. I think those non-scale victories are very important when it comes to your health because the scale doesn't always tell you the whole picture. You know, sometimes putting on those jeans and seeing that they're really loose and you can pull them down without unbuttoning them, that's a major win. Because when you're exercising, you're building muscle, and muscle can sometimes increase your weight. Okay, so the scene 3 goal is to pay off our care credit card. which if you're not familiar with that, it's a credit card you can use to pay for medical procedures, prescription medicines, that kind of thing. Normally we pay it off every month, but my daughter had to have some fillings done back in November, so we're trying to pay that off. So for January, I want to pay an additional $100 on that. In February, I want to pay an additional $100 on that. And in March, I want to make the final payment and bring our balance down to zero. Once we do that, I would like to set up an appointment for my husband to go be fitted for his new dentures, because he's needed new dentures for quite a while, and we haven't been able to get him. We haven't been at a place where we can get him in to get fitted for those. So hopefully we can do that in the next, 6 months or so. That's kind of my goal. So I guess really that set up an appointment for him would actually be an Act 2 goal, but I put it here because ultimately we want to pay it off so we can get him in to get some new dentures. And then my Scene 4 goal is choreography for my rec classes. Now for my recreational dance classes, my technique dance classes, those are the classes that I teach outside of the competition team at the studio where I teach. I have 6 rec classes that I teach. I would like to have all of my choreography for them done before spring break. That's my goal every year. So I would like to have music for all 6 classes that I teach picked out. And then, and I have to get that approved by the studio owner and director before I can move forward. I would like to have, for January, I would like to have at least 1 minute of choreography completed, and then for February, another minute of choreography completed. So that's 1 minute completed for each month, January and February. She likes for our dances to be around the 2 to 2.5 minute mark. So I don't think this will be a problem. And then I want to have completely taught all choreography by spring break, which is March 10th through 14th. So I need to get on the ball with that and get some music picked out. Here's the problem. 5 of my rec classes are ballet classes. Our theme is not one that's really conducive to ballet, but I'm going to have to make it work. My other class is an advanced contemporary class. I think I'm going to have an easier time with that one, to be honest. And then the last part of this goal is to be prepared to work on cleaning and tweaking dances after we return from spring break. So that is still part of quarter 1 because it's March. So after we come back from spring break, I want to be ready to just clean the dances and make them look really nice and crisp, tweak anything that I need to tweak, add any new steps that we learn that they master before recital. Our recital is in April. So that is my goals for the quarter. Finally, I remind myself that consistency is key. I will set aside time each day to update my bullet journal and my Budget by Paycheck workbook. Typically do this in the morning while I drink my cup of coffee, when I'm the only one awake and I kind of have some nice quiet moments to myself. This is my time to sit down, plan out my day, update my budget, and just set myself up for success for that day. This routine keeps me on track and helps me adjust when life happens. Sometimes things change and we need to have the ability to change with it. We also need the systems that we put into place to help us stay on track, have the ability to grow and change with our lives, to be able to adjust when life happens. You have to be okay with opening up your planner and scratching things out and say, nope, this just didn't happen today. Move it to another day. Or, you know what? I'll just put that off for another time when I have a little bit more time, when life's not so hectic and I really have time to sit down and do this. Things aren't time sensitive. It's a great thing to do. You have to treat your systems like living, breathing entities that grow and change as you as a person grow and change. As you travel through the seasons of life, your systems also need to travel through the seasons of life with you. There may come a time when these systems no longer work for me, and I'm okay with that because for right now, they do. They work for me. And when they no longer work for me, well, then I'll find a new system or I'll tweak the system I have now so that it does work for me. That's one of the beautiful things about planning and budgeting that we have to allow ourselves to embrace is the ability to tweak and change as things change in our lives. I think a lot of people want to set and forget their systems. This works for me, and this is what has always worked for me. But that's not how these systems work. Well, that's it. Preparing for 2025 doesn't have to be overwhelming. With a little bit of planning and the right tools, we can make this year our best year yet. All right, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and join us on our journey as we go through 2025. Let's make this our most productive year.